On March 11, 2026, a Florida man walked to a police officer with one request. He wanted everything documented. The night before, his ex-wife had called him 17 times in the span of an hour, leaving behind 9 disturbing voicemails.
Hi.
So I don't know if you want to go through these again, but I don't know if you listen to them. They're f***ing scary.
What? What is going...
As the officer listened, the messages became increasingly unsettling. He insisted that the voice truly belonged to the man's ex-wife.
Voicemail.
Oh, are you spoken to Mama? Please, for Mom. You're alive. You're alive. You're alive.
Concerned for her safety, officers later went to her home to check on her. According to the reports, she became agitated during the encounter and was later arrested on a charge of obscene communication. When the recordings spread online, many people said she seemed possessed because the behavior appeared to come out of nowhere. No further information about her well-being was shared, but hopefully she's okay. A security guard in Mexico was patrolling a property at night when he heard strange noises coming from around a nearby building. As he rounded the corner, he briefly caught what looked like a man's head peeking out from the edge of the wall.
Escucho a alguien. Su puta madre. Su puta madre. Su puta madre. Puta madre.
He immediately rushed over to investigate, but by the time he reached the corner, there was no one there. When he watched the footage, something was indeed captured, and it looked like a man. But how could it disappear without making any noise? And what was it doing there in the first place? The guard claimed he had experienced other strange, unexplained things at the same location before, and for him, this was just more proof that something paranormal was happening there. TikTok user Josh Fletch was exploring the old Idaho Penitentiary in Boise when he climbed into a closed-off section of the abandoned prison. As he slowly filmed down a long corridor, every cell appeared completely empty. But as the camera reached the final cell, it captured something terrifying. Standing motionless in the darkness appeared to be a human-like figure. The unexpected sight immediately startled Josh, who quickly backed away from the cell.
Oh fuck! Oh fucking shit!
The old Idaho Penitentiary operated from 1872 to 1973 and has long been associated with reports of shadow figures, unexplained voices, and other alleged paranormal activity. So what was still standing inside that final cell that day? In December 2023, surveillance cameras inside a home in Coatesville, Pennsylvania, captured a man who had allegedly broken into the house multiple times. According to the police, the intruder repeatedly entered through a back door or window before making his way directly to the bedroom of a 9-year-old girl. The latest break-in happened on Christmas Eve, when security cameras captured the man walking through the family's kitchen. Rather than stealing anything, he allegedly stood in the girl's bedroom, watching her while she slept. On one occasion, he reportedly asked the girl to leave with him. She refused and told him to get out of the house. Despite valuables being left in plain sight during the break-ins, nothing was ever taken. After the surveillance footage was released to the public, police received multiple tips and identified the suspect as Jefferson Mija Gonzalez. He later turned himself in and was charged with burglary, stalking, criminal trespass, interference with the custody of a child, and several other offenses. Thankfully, the little girl was never physically harmed, but it's a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying encounters aren't paranormal at all, they're real. A policeman took this photo after a fire broke out during his shift. He later posted it to Facebook, pointing out something strange in the image. After reviewing it, he noticed what appeared to be a dark figure floating directly in the flames. According to the officer, absolutely no one had been standing that close to the fire other than the person visible in the photo. In fact, it would have been impossible for anyone to stand there in the middle of the flames. A A few commenters also claimed they could see several faces inside the fire. Do you see them? Anyway, many people were convinced this wasn't just an illusion. They believed it was something paranormal. Just after midnight, several officers at a station in Pahang, Malaysia, were passing the time by playing chess during a quiet shift. Then, one of them noticed what appeared to be a faint figure standing nearby. The shadow's identity remains unknown, but their reaction certainly seemed genuine. In December 2024, a woman named Lindsay shared security footage from outside her home after a frightening late-night encounter. A man repeatedly walked onto her porch, leaving her so alarmed that she called 911.
Ma'am, there's nobody there.
He was standing in the doorway.
Ma'am?
But according to the dispatcher, officers had already checked the area and found no one outside, despite Lindsay insisting she could still see the man. Feeling helpless, she called her father, who contacted the police again. This time, officers returned and actually found the man. Police later determined he had reportedly gone to the wrong address while looking for someone. After the footage went viral, the handling of the 911 call drew widespread criticism. The Emergency Communications Agency later issued a public statement, acknowledged the call had been mishandled, and announced changes to help prevent similar incidents in the future. A woman was joking around with a friend in her student halls in Edinburgh, pretending she wasn't there while filming him through a door's peephole. At the time, neither of them noticed anything unusual. Years later, while looking through old videos from 2017, they spotted what appeared to be a dark figure briefly appearing in the hallway behind him. According to the uploader, the only nearby apartment was the door visible in the video, while the entrance to the hallway on the right could only be accessed with a keycard. She also explained that although the student halls were relatively new at the time, they had been built in the centre of Edinburgh, on what was likely the site of much older buildings. Hoping there was a simple explanation, she suggested it might have been the reflection or distortion caused by the peephole lens. I'm not saying it's paranormal, but personally, I don't think it looks like a simple reflection or distortion. A security officer noticed something disturbing one night while reviewing surveillance footage from an empty classroom. At first, the room appeared completely quiet. Then, the classroom door slowly opened on its own. Moments later, a young girl walked inside and headed toward the doorway before suddenly stopping and turning to look directly at the camera. Almost immediately, a chair suddenly toppled over. According to the security officer who shared the footage, the girl wandered off moments later. The strange sequence quickly divided viewers. Some claimed it was one of the eeriest surveillance videos they had ever seen. Others believed the footage had simply been edited or staged. Without additional footage or an official explanation, it's impossible to know who the girl was, or what really happened inside that classroom that night. In Coronel Durango, Argentina, a photo began circulating through WhatsApp groups after residents noticed something unusual near the town's municipal nursery. A doll had been tied to an old wooden post by the roadside. It wasn't lying on the ground or simply thrown away. It had been carefully secured in place, leading many locals to question why someone would leave it there. Some believed it was nothing more than a prank. Others linked it to local superstitions, with rumors of witchcraft and ritual practices quickly spreading through the community. It left the whole town wondering, who put it there, and why? On March 18, 2022, Todd Jones 2220 shared body cam footage of an arrest. A handcuffed woman was being placed into a police vehicle when officers repeatedly told her to pull her legs inside so they could close the door. Instead, she continued resisting and making strange sounds.
Before we move. Hey, calm down. Calm down.
This led many people online to suggest she was possessed. Despite being restrained, several officers struggled to keep her under control. Eventually, the officers decided to move her to a different vehicle to regain control of the situation. Hopefully, whatever was going on with her, she is doing better now. An officer was walking home alone late at night after work when he suddenly felt like someone was following him. He pulled out his phone and started recording the empty street behind him. He caught this: a dark, human-shaped figure.
Perdón, en sus casas. Yo estoy asustado. Estoy hablando cualquier tontería.
According to the officer, there was nobody else around, making the sight even more unsettling. The figure then disappeared, and he continued walking home. But the clip still makes him question what was really there. A teenage girl was recording a TikTok when she suddenly heard loud screams coming from a neighboring house. The sounds became so disturbing that she stopped filming herself, rushed to the window, and began recording what was happening outside. As neighbors gathered, many believed someone inside the home was being attacked and pleaded with police to get inside as quickly as possible. But after officers entered the house, the situation reportedly took an unexpected turn. According to some people, one of the officers was heard asking for a rosary, leading to widespread speculation that the call involved a possible exorcism rather than an assault. Authorities never publicly confirmed what actually happened inside the home or explained the screams. Nearly a decade ago, this footage was captured while on patrol. At first, it showed nothing more than an ordinary drive along a quiet road. Then, they spotted someone standing alone on the side of the road. As the vehicle got closer, the figure appeared to be a woman. But just as they reached her, the footage suddenly cut to black. Hopefully, the officers stopped to help her, but without the rest of the footage, we'll never know what happened after the camera went dark. While booking a man into jail, police officer Marco Castillo noticed someone standing inside cell number 1. The man wore a white t-shirt, had short hair and glasses. He simply stood there watching as the officers walked past. A short time later, Marco returned to check on the prisoners, but cell number 1 was completely empty. Confused, the officers checked the booking records. According to the paperwork and computer system, no one had ever been placed inside that cell. They immediately reviewed the surveillance footage. The video appeared to show the same man standing inside cell number 1, but the moment the officers walked out of booking, the figure suddenly vanished from the recording. Even stranger, when they tried to copy the footage onto a DVD and USB drive, the mysterious figure was gone. According to Marco, officers have continued reporting strange experiences around cell number 1 over the years, including prisoners seemingly talking to someone standing inside the empty cell. 2 police officers responded to a late-night call after an Airbnb owner noticed the front door standing open. Believing someone may have broken in, she asked the officers to search the property, explaining that no guests were staying there. As they cleared the rooms, one officer suddenly heard a loud bang coming from a bathroom. He checked inside, but found no one. While searching upstairs, this happened.
Police! Anyone inside, make yourself known.
A nearby door slowly opened on its own. The officer immediately checked the room, yet it was completely empty. After searching the house one final time, both officers confirmed there was no sign of an intruder. Whether it was caused by airflow, an overlooked explanation, or something stranger, the house remained empty. 2 police officers were patrolling at night in Greece when they came across something unusual lying in the middle of the road. One officer cautiously approached, both unsure of what they were looking at. Whatever it was, it appeared to be alive. The clip offered no explanation for what happened before or after the recording, leaving its identity a mystery. But I don't know. It might be fake. Reddit user ExpertDesk7492 shared a story told by a former SWAT officer about one call he claimed he never forgot. While working patrol, he responded to reports of a violent argument inside an apartment. Officers forced their way in after hearing a woman scream for help. Inside, they found the apartment completely destroyed, but no sign of the man whose deep voice they had heard. The injured woman insisted no one else had been there. As officers questioned her, she suddenly began speaking what they believed was fluent Latin in a voice that sounded nothing like her own. Later, while transporting her to hospital, she addressed the officer by his first name, a name that wasn't on his badge or paperwork. To this day, he couldn't explain what happened that night. A farmer in Puerto Tirol, Argentina, found a large cylindrical object buried on his property one morning. At first, it looked like a piece of abandoned machinery, but when police arrived, the area was quickly secured and firefighters, along with specialized teams, were called to examine it. The object was made of carbon fiber, measured several feet long, and had visible valves and a serial number. Investigators reportedly considered the possibility that it was space debris, possibly part of a rocket that had fallen back to Earth. Because of the potential danger, only trained personnel were allowed near it. Fortunately, no one was injured. But what if it had landed somewhere much more crowded? In 2020, Reddit user Choose12803 shared a video that his sister recorded while visiting their father at a public hospital. As she stood in the hallway filming, something unusual appeared to happen. At the far end of the corridor, what looked like a figure briefly peeked around the corner. At almost the exact same moment, her hair suddenly appeared to move, despite there being no obvious reason why. The footage quickly divided viewers. Some believed it had captured something paranormal. Others argued it was simply plastic sheeting or another object creating an optical illusion. So what do you think? A highway patrol vehicle was driving through a mountainous area of Romania after officers received reports of a fire near a rural road. They expected to find a small fire or people using flares, but instead, the patrol camera captured this. A glowing object slowly lifted into the night sky before disappearing into the darkness. Some believe it could have been an unusual natural phenomenon. But what's your take? A police officer named Jamie Doob responded to a late-night call from a woman who claimed she kept hearing drumming coming from her basement. At first, Jamie assumed someone was probably playing music or hiding downstairs. The moment he stepped inside the house, he heard it too. The drumming was faint at first, but as he slowly approached the basement door, it grew louder and louder. According to Jamie, he could also hear what sounded like chanting mixed in with the drumming. Believing someone might actually be hiding downstairs, he radioed dispatch to let them know he was going to investigate. He slowly opened the basement door, and the drumming became even louder. Then, the moment he switched on the basement light, everything stopped. Jamie searched the entire basement, expecting to find a person, a radio, or anything that could explain what he had just heard. But there was nothing. Just an ordinary basement filled with furniture and storage. Thinking the lights might somehow have triggered it, he repeatedly turned them on and off, but the drumming never returned. Before leaving, Jamie told the homeowner to call him again if it ever happened another time. According to Jamie, she wasn't looking for someone to solve the mystery. She just wanted someone else to hear it because she thought she was going crazy. To his knowledge, she never called the police about the drumming again. A woman was waiting for her husband to return home late one night when she saw him pull into the driveway on his motorcycle. But instead of coming inside, he stopped and began talking to someone she couldn't see. He pointed into the air, gestured with his hands, and appeared to be having a conversation before finally walking toward the house. Confused, she asked who he had been speaking to. Her husband told her he had just met a very pale man outside and assumed a nearby security camera would have captured him. But when they checked the footage, there was no one there. This footage was shared by a patient staying in a hospital. While being filmed by his girlfriend, he described repeatedly seeing a young girl wearing a red dress with black pigtails.
She's still there in that chair right there. There was a little girl, but like I said, no bigger than Sarah. Black hair. Well, people don't know how big Sarah is. Sarah's about Sarah's a 6-year-old that we babysit. She like that. She has black face, black hair, pigtails. Her eyes like red, wearing a red dress. She's legit doing this. And she's sitting there, and she's like, she has her hands on her lap. Sadistic smile, just doing this. And she's sitting at that chair right there, Jason said. Right there.
According to him, she would sit silently in a nearby chair, smiling at him without ever moving. His girlfriend didn't believe the story and continued recording as he described what he had been seeing. It wasn't until they reviewed the footage later that they noticed something unsettling. A small figure appeared in the reflection of a nearby glass panel. Could this have been the same girl he had been talking about, or was the shadow caused by something else entirely? In August 2018, police searched the home of Shannon Watts after she and her 2 young daughters were reported missing. As a canine officer searched one of the upstairs bedrooms, a strange giggling sound suddenly came from inside the closet.
Yes.
Police body camera footage captured the officers discussing the noise moments later. At the time, nobody knew what had happened to Shannon or her daughters, but the investigation took a heartbreaking turn. Investigators later determined that in the early hours of August 13, 2018, Christopher Watts had murdered his pregnant wife Shannon and their daughters, Bella and Celeste. He initially claimed his family had simply disappeared, but later confessed to the murders and was sentenced to multiple life terms without the possibility of parole. After the case became public, the strange giggling sound spread across social media, with many people claiming it could have been the spirits of Bella or Celeste. However, investigators believe the sound was most likely a child's electronic toy that had been accidentally activated when the canine or one of the officers stepped on it during the search. One summer evening, a police officer and his partner responded after a woman reported hearing voices inside her home, convinced someone had broken in. The officers searched the entire property, but found no signs of forced entry. Every door and window was locked. After reassuring the homeowner that everything appeared to be fine, they stood talking with her for several more minutes. Then, the window blinds suddenly began swaying back and forth on their own. There were no open windows, no air conditioning running, and neither officer could find a reasonable explanation. After leaving the house, the officer looked into the property's history. He discovered that 5 years earlier, the home had been the scene of a murder-suicide after a man fatally shot his wife before taking his own life while on the phone with emergency dispatchers. The officer never claimed what happened was paranormal, but he admitted it was one of the creepiest calls he had ever responded to. Now, for more paranormal encounters, let's watch this video.